DOJ may be releasing the list of Jeffrey Epstein's clients. Will that really happen?
It's sitting on my desk right now to review. That's been a directive by President Trump. I'm reviewing that. I'm reviewing JFK files, MLK files. That's all in the process of being reviewed because that was done at the directive of the president from all of these agencies.
So have you seen anything that you said, oh my gosh?
Not yet.
Okay. Well, we'll check back with you.
62% increase from the same time period last
year. Client list that the Attorney General said she had on her desk.
Well, I think if you go back and look at what the Attorney General said in that interview, which was on your network on Fox News.
Got the quote.
Go ahead.
John Roberts said, DOJ may be releasing the list of Jeffrey Epstein's clients. Will that really happen? And she said, it's sitting on my desk right now to review.
Yes, she was saying the entirety of all of the paperwork, all of the paper in relation to Jeffrey Epstein's crimes. That's what the Attorney General was referring to, and I'll let her speak for that. But again, when it comes to the FBI and the Department of Justice, they are more than committed to ensuring that bad people are put behind bars. They have an operation going on right now called Summer Heat, which has our murder rate trending in the lowest direction in United States history. Their emphasis on violent crime and locking up violent criminals has led to the arrest of 14,000 violent criminals. That's a 62% increase from the same time period last year. So this Attorney General and the FBI Director are committed to putting back.
Jeffrey Epstein definitely did not kill himself. Good morning. Rise and freedom. I'm Austin Peterson. You're watching and listening to the Wake Up America show, and that's on the 4 Liberty Network, baby. Nice to see ya. Tuesday, the 8th of July already. Jeez, this month is flying by. Guys, enjoy the summer. It's not going to last long. You remember when we were told that the Epstein list was coming, the famous Epstein client list, it was going to blow the roof off of the ruling elite. Well, it turns out that the list has now joined Epstein himself, along with a mysterious 1 minute of footage of his jail cell camera, vanished without explanation. What are you going to do about it, bitch? What are you going to do? Huh? That's right. You're not going to do a damn thing about it. You're just going to sit down. You got to be real quiet. And if you start to cause any of a fuss, we're going to take away all your influencer dollars. We're not going to invite you to any of them fancy cocktail parties. It's the influencing, de-influencing campaigns. Welcome, Kim McCurry. Kayla Vanderfeldt, Joni Rankins, Cecilia H., Real Hunter Human from Buenos Aires, T-Mill 22 from Centertown. What a motley crew. LW78, Y2 Joe, Southcock from the Isle of Alderney. Oh, says I. I don't know. Do they have Irish people there? Hugging my kids harder and trying to make the summer last longer, says Kim. Me too. I'm trying to just live every moment. Hazel Rose having her very first birthday at the end of this month. We're excited. We got family in town every weekend. My brother is coming in town for the Crystal Gale concert because, you know. What's up, Barney Styles? Don't forget to click that like button. We got the bonus content today. If you guys want to unlock it, let's get those Rumble Rant donations started. We get it started. Let's get retarded in here. Drop some Rumble Rants. If we hit $75 raised, that bonus content will unlock. It's our little Lego mini documentary, a 5-minute documentary that you can watch instead of watching commercials on the show today. It's way more fun. We got some new commercials today, though, because why not? So why don't you guys just unlock that bonus content early and often, just like they voted for Lyndon Baines Johnson early and often and quite often and more than once and 17 times and 150 times, and then the boxes from the opposing parties' districts just managed to make their way into a Texas river, which carried it on its way. Lyndon Baines Johnson, U.S. Senate race, nobody? I wasn't alive then either. 80s baby. The Department of Justice now says there is no Epstein client list. According to the Wall Street Journal and New York Times, DOJ lawyers state that no single document or database labeled as a client list exists.
DOJ may be releasing the list of Jeffrey Epstein's clients. Will that really happen?
It's sitting on my desk right now to review. That's been a directive by President Trump. I'm reviewing that. I'm reviewing JFK files, MLK files. That's all in the process of being reviewed because that was done at the directive of the president from all of these agencies.
So have you seen anything that you said, oh my gosh?
Not yet.
Okay. Well, we'll check back with you.
They think you're stupid. They do. They think you need to be managed. You can't handle the truth. According to the DOJ lawyers say no single document or database labeled as a client list exists. So what is it, Pam? Did the list evaporate or are you playing a game of hide the indictment here? Jeffrey Epstein, excuse me. Jeffrey Epstein, convicted sex offender, died in a Manhattan jail cell in August of 2019 while awaiting trial on federal sex trafficking charges. His death was ruled a suicide. Oh. But suspiciously occurred while two guards were asleep. Wow. I mean, I guess that does happen. Guards, it's just like a movie, you know? You know how when the protagonist sneaks his way past the sleeping guards? Apparently that's a documentary. And of course, the surveillance cameras very mysteriously malfunction. The 1 minute of footage that's missing from the tapes, it just malfunctioned. It just, for 1 perfect minute, the security footage was missing from the tape. Just so happened to be, you know, a very critical minute. But, you know, hey, technical glitches do happen. You know what? Let's just skip a minute ahead in this one. His death ruled as suicide. New York Times now claims enhanced surveillance footage confirms he acted alone 4 years after the incident. And they think we're stupid. Enhanced. It's like those movies in the 90s before we really knew how cameras worked, or like you know, imaging before AI existed. It'd be like enhanced. Does anyone know what I'm talking about? Ghislaine Maxwell, British socialite. She's the daughter of the disgraced publishing tycoon Robert Maxwell, accused and later convicted of procuring and grooming underage girls for Epstein, sentenced in 2022 to 20 years in federal prison for sex trafficking of minors to, well, absolutely no one. Just Jeffrey Epstein. Only Jeffrey Epstein. There were no cameras at Jeffrey Epstein's home. He definitely did not have a big creepy painting of Bill Clinton and Monica Lewinsky's blue dress that Bill Clinton definitely did not see, when Bill Clinton definitely did not go over there, and when Bill Clinton definitely did not fly on the Lolita Express multiple times, and multiple other celebrities and world leaders that definitely did not happen multiple times. The royal family is definitely not in on it. Her trial did not include public release of the client names. Prince Andrew, however, Duke of York, definitely was not in on it, even though he was definitely not repeatedly photographed with Virginia Giuffre, who was definitely not killed as a result of a mysterious car crash this year. And Epstein and Maxwell, of course, Virginia Giuffre accused Epstein and Maxwell of sex trafficking her while she was a minor. Prince Andrew definitely did not settle a lawsuit with Giuffre in early 2022 for an undisclosed sum estimated to be £12 million. He was stripped of royal and military titles. He was effectively exiled from royal duties. And despite overwhelming circumstantial evidence and settlement, he has never been criminally charged. So to recap, Epstein dies in jail. Maxwell goes to prison. Prince Andrew gets a vacation. The list disappears, and you and I, we get a lecture from the DOJ and Ben Shapiro on conspiracy theories.
We now have the answers. And the problem is this. People who never hedged their bets, people who never at any point suggested to you that they don't have data to back up the speculation, that the speculation was in and of itself the conclusion that if you speculate without evidence that that amounts to an actual conclusion to an investigation, they're going to be very upset today because it turns out that the DOJ and the FBI have concluded that Epstein didn't have a client list and died by suicide, according to a memo detailing the findings obtained by Axios. Now, again, does this put to bed like all inquiries? Of course not. People can continue to speculate as much as they want. And I think there's still open questions here regarding how did Epstein make his money? But that's a very serious open question. And the speculation for a long time was he made his money from blackmail. But the DOJ and the FBI, again, run by people like Dan Bongino and Kash Patel and Pam Bondi, are telling you, I'm not telling you, they're telling you, people who are members of the Trump administration, people you elected and put into these positions to get you the truth on this matter, are telling you that he didn't, in fact, he was not murdered, he did not keep a client list, and he did not blackmail powerful figures. Okay, right? That is the thing that they are saying, not I. They are saying this.
I always trust my government, don't you guys? Good old Ben. Thank you, John Rail. Says, good morning, brother. Happy Tuesday on the front page of Rumble. Hell yes. Let's go. So Epstein definitely did not kill himself. There were no Epstein files. There was no client list. Prince Andrew was not in trouble. Prince Andrew got in trouble for nothing. The British royalty definitely not in on it. And because Kash Patel, Dan Bongino, we voted for them. We put them in office. And Donald Trump, we voted for him. We put him in office. Pam Bondi, we put them all in office. And so therefore, trust your government, right? Right?
No, God! No, God, please, no!
Come on.
No!
Love to hear your thoughts on this and more. You can send us a text at 573-319-1586. The text lines are open, and you can send us a text at 573-319-1586. That's the text line. You can see it on the screen, but program it in your phone so you guys don't have to worry about it later. You can find me very easily on any social network at AP for Liberty. That's AP, the number 4, AP for Liberty. If you follow me over on X, you'll see lots of my hot takes. Javier Milei, the president of Argentina, retweeted me like twice tomorrow, so I was blowing up like all these fans from Argentina now. If you look at my analytics, you can see where people are watching me from, and it's like 95% Americans, and then it's like 4% Argentina, and then 1% everywhere else.
Everybody in politics has a vice that's much worse than alcoholism is the way that I put it. But we
release the list.
Seriously, we need to release the Epstein list. That is an important thing. Everybody in politics has a vice that's much worse than alcoholism is the way that
release the list. That's interesting. Somebody sent me a photograph of a tweet from J.D. Vance, Vice President J.D. Vance, back in September 4th of 2021. He says, remember when we learned that our wealthiest and most powerful people were connected to a guy who ran a literal child sex trafficking ring? A literal, not a metaphorical, but a literal child sex trafficking ring. Ring implies you got to have more than one person for a ring, by the way. For a ring, there's got to be supply system, there's got to be, maximum profit, the demand is very high for the children, right? And so eventually the markets, the supply and demand meet somewhere, and they all connected to a guy who killed himself and Ghislaine Maxwell, who definitely did nothing wrong. J.D. Vance says, and then that guy died mysteriously in a jail, and now we just don't talk about it. Well, we do talk about it, J.D. Vance, but I know, we elected them. Ben Shapiro says, shut up.
If you're willing to throw that over and claim they're lying, then I'd like to see you present your evidence that they are in fact lying, because I know Dan. I don't think that Dan Bongino is lying to me. I know Kash Patel a little bit. I don't think Kash Patel is lying to me. I don't think these people are lying to me.
All right, Ben. Well,
which means that if somebody else continues to claim that they're lying, they ought to provide their evidence at this point.
First of all, if they don't lie, if they don't lie, then they probably are not going to be very good at FBI directors, to be quite honest, because that job involves a lot of lying. It's like Tulsi Gabbard. I almost said Gabby Giffords. No. It's like Tulsi Gabbard. She's the chief spy master in this country. You think that Tulsi Gabbard isn't going to tell a lie? Hey, what were you doing last Friday? Oh, I was just eating dinner, hanging out with my friend. Meanwhile, she's like got some like guy, and she's like garroting him. She gets like the piano wire out. She's like she's like, oh, what were you doing last week on Friday night? Tulsi, you didn't come to the girls' night, And she's like, oh, I ended up having to get some work done, and then I went to bed early. It's just, I had to call it a night, Meanwhile, she's like, yeah, they lie. Yeah, I think they lie. I think they all lie. I think Trump lies. I think Tulsi Gabbard lies. I think Pam Bondi lies. I think Karen Levitt lies. They all lie. That's the government. Everything just so you know, if you haven't read your Nietzsche lately, everything the state says is a lie, and everything that it has stolen. I mean, come on. You guys know this.
Client list that the Attorney General said she had on her desk.
Well, I think if you go back and look at what the Attorney General said in that interview, which was on your network on Fox News.
Got the quote.
Go ahead.
John Roberts said, DOJ may be releasing the list of Jeffrey Epstein's clients. Will that really happen? And she said, it's sitting on my desk right now to review.
Yes, she was saying the entirety of all of the paperwork, all of the paper in relation to Jeffrey Epstein's crimes. That's what the Attorney General was referring to, and I'll let her speak for that.
Semantic error. That's what it was. She was talking about, this general idea of these papers here, there, somewhere. You can't handle the truth. Good morning, pineapples.
Good morning, pineapple. Looking very good, very nice. Good morning, pineapple. Looking very good, very nice.
Kansas City Royals won 2 in a row yesterday. That's your distraction. Good for you, Y2 Joe. Anything but lies the government tells you. Welcome to Wake Up America Show. It's also nice to see Stephen Ruby, when will you be mine? Welcome to the Wake Up America Show. I'm your host, Austin Peterson. Things get weird here. Sometimes I even sing. But if you click the like button and the follow button as well, you're going to make a whole new host of friends. And we all float down here. So why don't you join us at the bottom of the sewer? Come on down. If you want a balloon, click the follow button. You can join us Mondays through Fridays from 7 to 9 a.m. Central Time. It's a 2-hour live stream in the mornings. 7 to 9 a.m. Central Time is the show schedule. But if you click the follow button, you'll get a notification on your Rumble app when we go live. And I'd love to see you. Come back and join us again. 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, 7 to 9 a.m. Central Time. That's the show's line. And I'm sticking to it. Here we go. Oh, I'm sorry. I had the wrong clip here. Governor Ron DeSantis talking about Elon's. Oh, no, wait. Here we go. This is the right clip.
But in this case, in Epstein's case, it is incredibly disturbing. We have flight logs, we have information, names that will come out.
Is it going to be shocking?
I don't see how it's not shocking that there were so many individuals that were hidden and kept secret and not been held accountable. Let's talk about the reverse. I believe in accountability. So you have to now go through your process. Now, I won't say they're guilty until they go through their time in court. But again, now it's time for accountability. We have seen for so many years, Pierce, in this country, many investigations, subpoenas, testimonies in Congress, et cetera, et cetera. But there's a general frustration with accountability. We take it halfway, we don't take it home. And I really believe that now with Cash and Pam, there will be accountability. But in this case...
But let's not kid ourselves, folks. The Epstein story isn't just about one dead man. It's about the world's most powerful people doing everything that they can to pretend none of this ever happened. Now, if you have never spent your time amongst the elites, and if you live in New York City or you live in Washington, D.C., as I did for about 11 years, you tend to rub shoulders with high society. When you work in powerful media institutions or work at think tanks, you run into these people, right? You bump into them at cocktail hour. You overhear the conversations. You have some conversations yourself. You start to realize how much operational security is a joke and that there really are no secrets in Washington, D.C. For a very long time. You might have the conspiracy theory that secrets can be well kept, but everybody's blabbing in Washington, D.C. It's if there's a secret, it'll be out soon. If you're a Chinese spy, just hang out around Georgetown or just go over by the U.S. Capitol, just hang out, be a Chinese spy and just hang out outside a coffee shop. Go to Horse Feathers, the Teddy Roosevelt bar over there behind the Capitol. You'll hear everything you need to know about the sausage that's being made next door, and every tax dollar, if it's unaccounted for in the budget, then it is definitely accounted for at the local bar. So just head on over there if you want to hear about it. But here is the truth about the elites. If you think that all the elites are all open border types, first of all, you're absolutely right. And second of all, the way that they look at the world is their oyster. And in many ways, they're right. They're not subject to the laws of any country. Remember, if Prince Andrew had just been a regular schmo, I mean, obviously he would not have had any connection to Epstein, but if he had just been a regular schmo that had got busted doing this for Virginia Giuffre, do you think that 15 million pounds and a slap on the wrist and an excommunication from the family's duties would suffice? No. Do you think that if you had done what Jeffrey Epstein and his associates had done, do you think that for a moment that you would not have spent good hard time in jail right next to whoever your Jeffrey Epstein would have been? You absolutely would have done so. But here's the thing. The elites of every country, they are borderless, they are soulless, they are moralless, they are unethical, and that's how they rose to the top. That's how many of them got to their positions. If it wasn't through pure nepotism or like the royal family, they're just born into it. If it wasn't for the fact that they are billionaires, Silicon Valley tech billionaires, then they would face the kind of accountability that people like you and I would face, right? Think about it like this. When you get a fine for something, a fine is not a prohibition, okay? A fine is not a prohibition. For example, a parking ticket. A fine it's not a prohibition on parking there. If you get a parking ticket, you're not prohibited from extending your car. They might come and tow you away. That's in some situations very harshly, sure, and that you could consider as a de facto prohibition. But a fine means that there's a price to pay. You can certainly extend your stay. You can certainly break this rule or bend this rule if you wish, but you have to pay. Right? So if there's a fine for something, if you can do it and you won't get jail time, you'll just get a fine. That means that it's legal for a price. That's what we libertarians like to say. Y2 Joe gifted us up. Thanks, brother. I think we've raised about $11 towards the $75 gift gold in order to unlock the bonus content. So keep those Rumble rants coming and the gifted subs coming. We appreciate that very much. But the elites of this world, they are lawless, borderless, soulless, moralists, unethical. They will do anything it takes to get to hold onto power and money. And if they can't have money, they'll cling to power. So how did Jeffrey Epstein get so powerful is a big question. Jeffrey Epstein wasn't born into wealth. He started out as a college dropout, then became a math teacher at the Dalton School, which is one of the most elite prep schools in New York. From there, he was mysteriously hired by Bear Stearns, this major investment bank, despite having no formal finance background. He quickly began managing money for billionaires. Think Les Wexner, who was the founder of Victoria's Secret, among them. So ask yourself this: how does a college dropout go from high school teacher to managing hedge funds for billionaires without blackmail or leverage? Blackmail or leverage, right? I mean, one of these days, 100 years from now, or if we get lucky and somebody pulls an Edward Snowden, which, by the way, if somebody pulls an Edward Snowden with the Epstein files, if they haven't already been shredded or burned or whatever yet, then whoever that Edward Snowden is, he's not going to make it to Russia. He's not going to make it to Russia. And you know me, I'm not a big conspiracy theorist, right? I typically am more on the debunking of conspiracy theorist sides, but I have some conspiracy theories. I have some, and I tend to hold to them, and they are pretty unhinged, I will say. I'd love to hear what your most unhinged conspiracy theory is. My most unhinged conspiracy theory is, you know the disease that you get when the Lone Star tick bites you? It's called alpha-gal syndrome. and it creates an allergy to red meat, so you can't eat delicious smoked brisket or beef or pork. You can't eat all of the wonders, the delicious wonders of the world. You can have like chicken and things like that, which isn't bad, but I met somebody over the holiday who had the alpha-gal syndrome. And man, was she miserable about it because she couldn't enjoy steak. She can't enjoy burgers. She can't enjoy sausages. She can't enjoy all the delights and wonderful things. So my most unhinged conspiracy theory is that the alpha-gal tick syndrome, and we're going to talk about ticks later in the show today, is that the alpha-gal tick syndrome was created by communists in a Chinese lab as using the Anthony Fauci effect, the Anthony Fauci function, the gain of function research, which is that engineering of diseases, and then they released it in the Ozarks and in Texas and in the American South because the Chinese communists wanted to attack the heart of their enemy, which is red meat eating, red-blooded American patriotic Southern Americans. They wanted, so alpha-gal, I believe that alpha-gal syndrome was created in a Chinese lab using gain of function. Prove me wrong. What's your most? So I think that the evidence is supposed to go the other way. You have to, extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence. I'd love to hear your thoughts. What's your biggest, most psychotic and unhinged conspiracy theory? Drop them in the chat or send us a text at 573-319-1586. Alpha-gal is an allergy to all mammalian protein, says Andy Opperman. Correct, sir. Boy, you're winning all the awards today. Brad Beckman thinks that the octopus are amongst the many alien life forms that live in our oceans. Yeah, those cephalopods. Let me tell you, there's that one, was the cuttlefish, the one that turns all the different colors and stuff, like straight out of science fiction. Totally agree. Speaking of straight out of science fiction, the Epstein story. Now, Epstein owned Little St. James. This was a private island in the U.S. Virgin Islands, known by the locals as Pedophile Island. In other words, when you talk about remember there's a ring, there's a whole group of people. Think about all the people that could easily come out and testify, right? Because the locals knew what it was. They knew that it was Pedophile Island. When you go out and you do things like, say you need to send in for refreshments, right? You got a cafeteria. You got to have somebody stock the bar at the Little St. James. There's a whole network of people that have to supplement the lifestyles and living on an island like Little St. James. So when the locals know it is Pedophile Island, it's because the locals know something. It's because the locals have seen what's going on there. They know who's there. They know what their function is for. Epstein also owned what was called the Lolita Express. It's a private jet where dozens of celebrities, politicians, and royals are reported to have flown, with logs that included Bill Clinton, 26 flights documented by flight logs, 26 times. And do you think that if you flew to an island where the locals called it Pedophile Island, and you're the former president of the United States, do you think that maybe somebody might have leaned into, you're somebody in the know? I mean, you're supposed to be surrounded by the best and the brightest, but do you think that at one point somebody might have leaned over your shoulder and said, hey, Mr. President, you might want to avoid going over here because if you didn't, they call it Pedophile Island. Are you sure? Like, you think by like the 20th flight, you did 26 flights, maybe like the 21st flight, he might have overheard something like that. Mr. President, don't go to Little St. James. It's where they hurt the little girls. Or do you think that by the 24th or 25th? No, 26 times Bill Clinton flew on the Lolita Express. Prince Andrew flew on the Lolita Express. Kevin Spacey, Chris Tucker, Ehud Barak, Harvard academics, tech investors, media moguls. They all flew on that jet. But nobody seems to remember where they were going. Isn't that strange? Oh, I need the Maury Povich face. You know that face that Maury Povich makes whenever it's like, you are not the father. And he's like that, right? You know, God, we love Maury Povich. This is a Maury show. Right. Oh, nobody knew. Kevin Spacey didn't know. Chris Tucker didn't know. Prince Andrew had no idea. Ehud Barak, Harvard academics, tech investors, and media moguls. In 2015, a civil lawsuit filed by Virginia Giuffre named multiple defendants. Multiple. She alleged she was trafficked by Epstein and Maxwell to powerful men. Men. Not man. To a powerful man, you would say, oh, well, Prince Andrew, yes. Powerful men. Plural. While she was underage. The judge initially sealed the names in the case. Only a few, like Alan Dershowitz and Prince Andrew, became public. The case was eventually settled quietly, just like the Prince Andrew case. No criminal trial, no public witness list, no cross-examination.
The DOJ may be releasing the list of Jeffrey Epstein's clients. Will that really happen?
It's sitting on my desk right now to review. That's been a directive by President Trump. I'm reviewing that. I'm reviewing JFK files, MLK files. That's all in the process of being reviewed because that was done at the directive of the president from all of these agencies.
So have you seen anything that you said, oh my gosh?
Not yet.
And let's give it up for Peter Doocy over at the White House. Fox is still doing his job and still doing a damn fine job over there in the White House. Here's Peter Doocy yesterday.
Client list that the Attorney General said she had on her desk.
Well, I think if you go back and look at what the Attorney General said in that interview, which was on your network on Fox News.
Got the quote.
Go ahead.
John Roberts said, DOJ may be releasing the list of Jeffrey Epstein's clients. Will that really happen? And she said, it's sitting on my desk right now to review.
Yes, she was saying the entirety of all of the paperwork, all of the paper in relation to Jeffrey Epstein's crimes. That's what the Attorney General was referring to, and I'll let her speak for that. But again, when it comes to the FBI and the Department of Justice, they are more than committed to ensuring that bad people are put behind bars.
Sus. That is sus. Y2 Joe, she was like, oh, damn, he's got receipts. Absolutely. Speaking of receipts, thank you, Andy, for your gift of monthly subs to the people over there in the chat. That means that puts us right around right around $40 raised towards the $75 bonus content goal. Just I imagine many of you who are watching the Wake Up America show today, you might have no idea who I am, what we're all about, what bonus content is. This is a 2-hour live show. It's called the Wake Up America show. We're a really tight-knit community. We'd love to have you join us. It's a 5-day-a-week live show. We have bonus content that we produce, which is like a little mini 5-minute documentary that we use to produce to tempt you guys to unlock bonus content, to tempt you guys to donate to the show. And if you do, then that when we hit $75 raised during the show, then that unlocks our bonus content, which you get to watch instead of commercials when we go to get our guest at 8 a.m. Central. So just about 25 minutes from now, Camellia Peterson will join the show. I'm Austin Peterson. She's Camellia Peterson, but we are of no relation. Camellia is a Peterson. I'm a Peterson. She's going to talk to us a little bit about this and more. She's going to weigh in on the Elon Musk America party. She's going to weigh in on the Epstein stuff. She's going to weigh in on anything that you want her to weigh in on, because if you have a question, you can send us a text at the bottom of the screen. I hope you'll click like on the feed and that you'll click follow as well, because if you're watching us over on Rumble today for the first time, which again, I imagine many of you are, and you don't know me, I'm Austin Peterson. This is a 5-day-a-week show. We'd love to have you be a regular guest. We cover the news. You're going to be completely and fully informed by the end of it, plus entertained. And we have delicious coffee over here. So speaking of, if you go to the merchandise shop during the show and you make a purchase, all the purchases made at forlibertyshop.com, they also go to unlock the bonus content. And when you unlock the bonus content, you have more fun. And everybody says, hooray, hooray, hooray. Hooray, hooray, hooray. So back to the story. That's what you came here for. So Epstein dies in jail. Maxwell goes to prison. Prince Andrew gets a vacation. The list disappears. You and I, we get a lecture from the DOJ about conspiracy theories. There we go. All right, segment 2. I guess I shouldn't read that out loud. Segment 2. MAGA versus the baby bonus brigade. So the Wall Street Journal wrote an op-ed yesterday talking about the baby bonuses. Have you heard about this? Somebody talks about getting money for having babies, and I'm just kind of like, oh my goodness. I hear my little daughter. Will there be money for me? No, Austin. She was born too early to get the Donald Trump bonus. Born too late for the to serve in Vietnam. I don't know. Is that how that works? It's early. Federal baby subsidies. Oh, baby. Monthly cash payments or expanded tax credits for families with young children. God bless America. It labels this trend as warmed over welfare, the Wall Street Journal did, rebranded in conservative language. Yeah, it's kind of like a universal basic income, camel's nose under the tent. Senator Ted Cruz, Mike Lee, and others are pushing back. Oh, now you want to be a fiscal conservative. Warning of mission creep and the abandonment of conservative fiscal principles. Please, guys. That's a good one. The Republicans are talking about fiscal conservative principles. Oh my God. I'm sorry. My sides. Direct payments to families regardless of work status. So this is very, very similar to what Bernie Sanders and Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez proposed about 5 years ago. Child care subsidies, paid leave expansions, all with federal strings attached, of course. The paradox, of course, the same GOP that rails against the nanny state is now designing its own nursery. When they used to say, oh, you got to pull yourselves up by your bootstraps. Now Uncle Sam gives you the baby boots. That's right. The MAGA populists are saying that this is about supporting traditional families, especially in an era of declining birth rates and growing economic stress for parents. So there's a civil war on the right between the fiscal conservatives, right, and the libertarians, the actual libertarians, right, who view this as socialism or universal basic income, and then the nationalist populists who support government-driven natalism as a cultural survival tool. So pull yourself up by your bootstraps. Went to Uncle Sam will buy you the baby booty. So what do you guys think? Want to hear your thoughts on this one? Drop a comment below, guys. Let's hear it. What's the solution to U.S. fertility rates dropping to 1.62 in 2023? Well below replacement level here in the U.S. I'm doing my part. Countries like Hungary, Poland, and Japan have experimented with pronatalist subsidies to mixed success, not much success. American voters are skeptical, though, of these new entitlements. A Gallup poll from last year showed that 58% oppose monthly child stipends that are not tied to work. So my thing is, if you want to boost the birth rate, lower inflation, stop punishing working families and let parents keep more of their own money, not hand out more of ours. That's what I say. Money, money, money. Must be funny in a rich man's world. All right, so Zoran Mandani was reading yesterday about the millionaires that are standing behind this guy. Why is it always the millionaires? The rich people who are supporting socialism. It doesn't make sense. Who is this Zoran Mandani? He's the son of Mira Nair. She's an internationally acclaimed filmmaker, raised in privilege, educated at elite schools, backed by wealthy family donors, now running for the mayor of New York City on a democratic socialist platform. He wants to end private property development in New York City. He's like the anti-Trump. He also wants to create a public housing guarantee for all residents, Jesus, and implement racial reparations, as well as defund the police and implement a municipal wealth tax. He's trying to run New York like a graduate student runs a coffee co-op. And we all know how those communist coffee co-ops work. They don't work and they get folded after a year. Wow, 382 people over there on Rumble. What's up, everybody? We're climbing those heights. I'm so glad and thankful to have you here, and I'd love to see your name over there in the chat. And if you would, just drop a comment, let us know who you is, and click the follow button before you leave today. We'd love to have you be a regular guest. This is a 5-day-a-week show, the Wake Up America Show. I'm Austin Peterson. We'd love to hear your thoughts by sending us a text message, as you can see at the bottom of the screen. 573-319-1586 is the text line. Be a regular guest by clicking that follow button and come back and join us 5 days a week. We've got great guests on the show. 20 minutes from now, we'll have Camellia Peterson on the show. She's going to talk to us about Elon Musk's America Party, and you can weigh in on that as well. Our friend YouTube shadow bans me, says free housing for all residents. How does he plan on funding that? Oh, I'm so glad that you asked. By Magic. Yes. And welcome to the show, by the way, YouTube shadow ban. Nice to see you. We hope that you'll become a regular guest. So Mamdani's campaign, heavily funded by family wealth and Hollywood connections. So he publicly bashes capitalism while privately benefiting from its fruits. The New York Post wrote yesterday that they said that he had radical ingratitude to a country that gave his family wealth, citizenship, and fame. Absolutely correct. If you have a child in kindergarten right now, then you have someone in your kindergartner has been a citizen of the United States for longer than Zoran Mamdani.
No offense, but it sounds like that's some fucking commie gobbledygook.
Yes, sir. Commie gobbledygook it is. Thank you, Norm Macdonald. It's the classic elite-backed socialist playbook. The wealthy kid, he champions the oppressed, he pushes policies. Meanwhile, that would devastate small landlords and working-class neighborhoods. He appears on podcasts and Twitter spaces, but of course dodges tough press whenever they try and interview him. They've got this, the New York Post has this reporter that's been chasing around. I can't remember her name, but she's hilarious. I watch her on Instagram, and he just sees her and he runs away. He's they're calling him the Fidel Castro of New York. I call him Che Guevara, but with a Venmo account. If only the CIA could get the communists here like they got Che. So here's the thing. New York City's political climate, it was ripe for change, but the amount of people who actually voted in this primary was pitifully small. This is the tyranny of the minority. There has been an exodus of working families to Florida and Texas ever since COVID-19 began because of the mammoth housing costs, the stagnant services in New York City, and of course the public transit being overrun by transients. Now, Mamdani is not the solution to New York's problems, but he is a symptom. He is a symptom of a city that has replaced competence with clout chasing. Oh, well, you guys are just so... Thank you. Thank you. Before we move on, I want to talk to you about our friends over at Rumble and their delicious 1775 coffee, because they have got starter kits now for anyone who's been curious about trying 1775 coffee. They've only got 1,000 units and they are running out fast. They'll hit you with that bold, dark roast. They've got single origin, small batch, toxin and mold-free coffee. I would hope so. Their starter kit comes with a gold spoon clip. Some of you might be using that for other things. Don't you dare. And a frother strong enough to stir up your coffee and your mother-in-law's political opinions. Yeah, my mother-in-law. Whew. I'm glad she was watching the show yesterday. It was a little less political. A black 1775 tumbler comes with that says, "Don't take life advice or caffeine from a woke sea witch. Poor unfortunate souls." You're going to get $170 worth of coffee and gear for $99. So if you've been watching 1775 Coffee blow up on Rumble, wonder if it's worth it, it is. Go to 1775coffee.com/studio and grab your starter kit before they're gone. Check it out. Start your day with coffee that actually backs what you believe. Amen. Thank you, Rumble. Flotsam, jetsam, now we've got our boys. The boss is on a roll. The poor, unfortunate souls. So Camellia Peterson, she's going to join us here in 15 minutes. We're going to talk to her about the news. The big story today was the fact that apparently Ghislaine Maxwell, she trafficked money to no one. Absolutely no one. Poor unfortunate souls. So sad, so cruel. In 2007, Epstein was charged with trafficking minors in Florida. Dozens of victims had come forward. Instead of facing federal charges, he was given a non-prosecution agreement by the U.S. Attorney Alex Acosta. Wow. The deal allowed him to plead guilty to solicitation, serve 13 months in jail, and spend most days on work release. That's amazing for child sex trafficking. I didn't know. I mean, I wonder if you or I got busted for child sex trafficking. Do you think that you'd get a plea deal like that? You think you'd serve 13 months in jail, spend most of your days on work release? And then, of course, that at that time, the plea deal also shut down the investigation into his co-conspirators into trafficking. So all the way back in 2007, he got a non-prosecution agreement. And so, but he had to plead guilty to solicitation, 13 months in jail, but most of the days he was on work release. So, and then part of the deal was, we're not going to investigate anybody that was in that one, right? 13 months of jail. Let that sink in. The only justice in that sentence was poetic because justice itself got locked up in silence. We just unlocked the bonus content, guys. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. We're very glad to have you here with us over on rumble.com/AP4Liberty or on X. Yesterday, we were the number one show on X in the morning. It was exciting to see. A little bump from the president of the eighth largest country in the world retweeted us yesterday. It was very nice. So, and what about Ghislaine Maxwell? Everybody's talking about her. Her trial in 2021 lasted just under 3 weeks. She was found guilty on 5 counts, including sex trafficking and conspiracy. Despite the gravity of the claims, no clients were ever named. The government blocked the release of flight logs, photos, and any full list of high-profile attendees. This is the only trafficking case in modern history where the trafficker went to jail and the clients were never identified. You can't have a trafficking ring with just one trafficker and one victim. Who were the buyers? Who was protected? And why? And then, of course, there's the media coverage of this. My buddy Tony Martinez texted and said Alan Dershowitz was Epstein's lawyer. Very true. But from 20, it's like every woman who was like, what's the lady who does all of the lawyer stuff for all of the female chicks? Gloria Allred, right? It's like Gloria Allred's taking so many of the high profile celebrity cases that she probably spent time on Epstein's Island too. Thank you, Tony Martinez. 2019 to 2021, corporate media finally began covering Epstein after his arrest because it wasn't a big story until it came out again with another sex trafficking charge. Right, 2007 was the initial one. Hush, hush, hush. No prosecution of the rest of the people. They're not going to go after any of the people who are involved in the ring. But it wasn't until 2019 to 2021 that the corporate media finally started to cover Epstein after his arrest, once he was already too toxic to protect. And then in 2022 to 2024, that's when the tone shifted. Suddenly we start seeing headlines, no smoking gun, suicide confirmed, no conspiracy here, right? And then in 2025, now the DOJ is formally stating there is no client list, and major outlets like the New York Times are helping frame the entire narrative as a right-wing conspiracy theory. It's funny how conspiracy theories, though, they just keep turning into spoiler alerts. Now, why does this matter? I know many of you listening to this right now are saying to yourself, listen, Austin, can't you just talk to us about like the budget or talk to us about, I don't know, kids' sports or something like that? Why does this story matter? Because here's why it matters. Because especially if you have kids, what if it was your child? Would you want justice? Right? If a sex trafficking ring with political and royal connections can disappear with no consequences, what else do you think could be buried? Who else is protected by the system? I don't think this is Americans wanting blood. This is about wanting the truth. And this week, we've been told there was no list. There was no conspiracy. There's nothing more to see. Here's the thing. You're not crazy. They are. And they think you'll forget about it if they say no comment long enough. It's not about Epstein. It's not about Epstein. It's about how the elite can live borderless, taxless, lawless, moralless, soulless, unethical lives, while the rest of us have to live under the yoke of their tyranny. We are paying taxes to child predators. It's not about Epstein. It's about every institution that bent over backwards to cover for him. From the prosecutors who gave him deals, to the press that stayed silent, to the bureaucrats who now say, what list? That is the ghost haunting the White House. Not Epstein himself, but the cowardice of our so-called leaders. Can I get an amen? I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. You can send us a text at 573-319-1586. The text line's open again at 573-319-1586. Camellia Peterson is going to join us live here at 8 a.m. Central Time. It's 7:52 a.m. Central Time, and now's a good time for me to remind you about our sponsor. So are you guys feeling it too? Social media is keeping us apart and silencing us. It functions more as a steam valve, or I'm going to fight with people on the internet, than as a place for real connection. Other than the Wake Up America show, I've got an app for you. It's not on your app stores. It's not on your Google app stores. It's not in your iPhone app stores. It's brand new, and you can only find it at connector.app. It has no algorithms, no shadow bans, and no unreasonable censorship. Read blogs from your contacts. You can receive money in your crypto wallet, get information about events before they happen. And early adopters like you will share a 5% revenue pool every month in the future. You know how people are always like, I wish I had got in on something before it got big. And then, the people who get in on something early, it always starts as something where you're like, oh my gosh, it's, if you get into something and there's not a whole lot of people right away, which with the Connector app is not fully populated yet, you might say to yourself, oh, well, there's nobody here. I'll come back later. Well, at that point, it might be too late. You want to get in on a good thing before it gets big. Then go to connector.app. That's connector.app. Find your kind on a map, not in app stores. Go to connector.app in your browser to make a profile today. Connector.app. Find your kind on a map. There we go. Sweet. All right, so here's the good news. We have unlocked the bonus content. Thank you, Andy Opperman. Thank you, Quest Fanning. Thank you, BB for Liberty. Thank you to everyone in the chat. John Rael, I think, donated earlier as well. We've seen a bunch of people dropping Rumble rants, and somebody went to forlibertyshop.com and made a purchase, and that unlocked the bonus content. So you guys get to watch the bonus content instead of commercials. So it's a really great little 5-minute mini documentary in Lego style. Enjoy that while I go get Camellia. Don't go away. The conspiracy theories continue when we get back on the Wake Up America show on the For Liberty Network. Oh, by the way, have you guys visited the Grift Shop? Just go www.thegriftshop.com and tell me what you see. The Grift Shop. Exit through the Grift Shop, but don't exit just yet. Just visit thegriftshop.com. We'll be right back. Talk about the Department of Education, America's most expensive game of where does all that money go? Every year, we fork over nearly $250 billion for this federal bureaucracy. But if you ask 10 people on the street what it actually does, you'll get 11 different answers. Don't worry, the people working there probably couldn't tell you either. Now here's a secret. For most of our history, there wasn't even a Department of Education. That's right, we won 2 world wars, invented jazz, and sent people to the moon, all without a federal office full of strategic priorities coordinators. In 1979, Washington decided the states just couldn't handle flashcards and lunch menus by themselves, so they created a department to coordinate education. That's government speak for making everything more complicated and expensive. So what does the department do with all that money? Besides printing new guidelines every year, it launches endless initiatives, task forces, and pilot programs. There are so many offices that just keeping the acronyms straight could be a full-time job. If you want to see government waste in action, try calling the department with a real question. You'll be transferred from the Deputy Undersecretary for Synergy to the Assistant Director for Stakeholder Climate, and finally, after 20 minutes, back to the main menu. Good luck getting that new textbook. Here's the best part. Despite all the spending, American students still rank in the middle of the pack globally. Countries that spend less but expect more keep leapfrogging us in reading and math. Meanwhile, we're paying for a bureaucracy that produces more paper than progress. At this point, the only people winning are the office supply companies. And speaking of real solutions, if you want to support actual independent thinking, and not some faceless federal bureaucracy, check out forlibertyshop.com. That's where you'll find gear that celebrates freedom, pokes fun at the powers that be, and helps keep this message on the air. Because if Washington's going to waste your money, at least you should get a great t-shirt out of the deal. Now, thanks to the latest shakeup in DC, the department is in chaos. There are freezes on grants, mass layoffs, and plenty of finger-pointing at woke propaganda. Some folks are cheering, dreaming of the day states get to decide for themselves whether school choice means more science or more tractor repair. Others are sure the sky is falling and kids will end up learning algebra from TikTok. The department's real accomplishment, though, is the student loan mess. For years, it handed out loans to anyone who could spell college. Now trillions are owed, and nobody can agree on who's supposed to pay. The latest bright idea? Dump the whole thing on the Small Business Administration. Because nothing says financial responsibility like trusting your tuition bill to the people who lost your cousin's PPP application. Meanwhile, the courts are having their say. Judges are being asked if mass layoffs are a civil rights emergency or just overdue spring cleaning. School districts are left hanging, unsure if their next check will arrive, or if it's time to start a GoFundMe for pencils and light bulbs. Let's get honest. America's best and brightest learned just fine without a federal education department. Local communities built schools, hired teachers, and created leaders, sometimes without even a single grant proposal or compliance audit. Imagine if the founders had to clear their schoolhouse plans with Washington before they started teaching. We'd still be using quills and candles. Supporters of the department insist it's essential for civil rights and fairness, but most of what happens in reality is that schools scramble to update policies and fill out endless forms just to stay compliant. You could probably build a new science lab with the time and money wasted on paperwork alone. So what's the alternative? Keep a portion of that federal money for special education, students with real needs, and making sure basic rights are protected. Send the rest back to the states and let them try new things. Let parents and local leaders have a real say in what works. Give teachers a chance to actually teach, not just file reports. Picture a world where school success is measured by student progress, not the size of a filing cabinet, where principals don't have to Zoom with the associate secretary for engagement. Maybe if we trust local communities and give them the tools and freedom to do what's best for their own kids, our schools will actually get better. We did it before, and we can do it again. The Department of Education can gracefully exit, taking its endless compliance binders and buzzwords with it. Let's put education back in the hands of those who know and care the most: parents, teachers, and community leaders. And hey, if it means a little less bureaucracy and a lot more learning, that's a lesson even Washington could stand to learn. Good morning. Rise in freedom. I'm Austin Peterson. You're watching and listening to the Wake Up America show, and we're on the 4 Liberty Network. Glad and thankful to have you here. Thank you for visiting thegriftshop.com. I know you guys appreciate all of the wonderful gifts that you got for your family, your wife, your lover. We're glad to have you here. Jeffrey Epstein didn't kill himself, and if Camellia Peterson had drowned in an unfortunate boating accident last week, we might say that she didn't kill herself either. She's joining us live here. CJ, how you doing? Nice to see you. A little sunburned, but
good morning. Yeah, still a little hot from the sunburn heat, but I'll be all right. I'm alive and well, and all is well.
So since we got featured on the front page of Rumble today, thank you, Rumble. A lot of these people who are watching us here probably have no idea who we are. I'm Austin Peterson. I'm the host of the show, and this is my friend Camellia Peterson, and we are not related. I'm an S-E-N, she's an S-O-N, but she's our Tuesday and Thursday guest here on the show. We're good friends, and we even hang out and they do vacation stuff together. Camellia was with us at the 4th of July party that we had down at Table Rock Lake, and where we went out on a beautiful pontoon boat, had a beautiful day, took Hazel Rose, the little baby, out into the lake, scared her mother near to death, half to death, of course. But had an absolute blast. Then on the way home, things got a little choppy, and I have to say, that's the first time that I really seriously thought in my life that I'm going to be on a boat that's going to sink. What about you?
Yeah, I hadn't been on, honestly, we did far more river stuff when I was a kid than lake stuff, and so I've not been on boats all that much in my entire life, and so I think the last boat I was on was a few years ago on a dinner cruise, in Lake of the Ozarks. So, but I felt good, pontoon boat is like one of the safest kind of boats you can be on, and maybe a little different when there's that much traffic on the lake on a holiday weekend. And so it was really good. That was very relaxing up until the very last part, and then there was no more relaxing after that.
Yeah, the boat, we hit the bottom of the front hit the bottom, the trough of the wave, and it just all the water just came up into the boat, and then we kind of stabilized for a second, and then it started going back down again the second time. I remember that on the initial crash, I look back, right, to check Steffi and the baby, see how they're doing, and then I look back, and then I see you flying, arms flailing in the air. I'm like, no, go, Camellia. And she, boom, slams into the back of the seat in front of her. And I'm just like, and then I'm like, okay, am I going to have to grab my baby? And then I wanted to throw the baby clear of the boat because you don't want to get like your foot caught in a rope or something like that. But thankfully the ship righted itself and we just kind of sat there kind of quietly for a minute while the captain said, sorry. That was scary.
Yeah.
You know what else is? You know what else is scary? The two-party system. So how about us?
Oh my word!
How about an Elon Musk? How about it? The America Party, Camellia? Are you on board?
You know, I was thinking about that post that Trump put out the other day, and he was talking about, you know, the Elon's just in this, you know, just to cause chaos and all this other kind of stuff. And I was like, I'm not sure that I think there's enough chaos, like aside from Elon and his third party. I don't think we need him to create the chaos. But, you know, I think a lot of people have been disappointed and let down over all of these things. It's just one hit after another, whether it's Epstein or Ukraine or, you know, the tariffs and uncertainty in the market for businesses and, you know, people not knowing what's going to happen, you know, the debt ceiling. And it just is, there's just been so much uncertainty that I think is really wearing on people. And so, you know, where they would definitely not have been open to something like that, and a lot of people have always ridiculed the third party option. I think when he throws that out there in the context of this time, like people are like, I'm so ready for something else, right?
Yeah, no, I think I completely identify with his frustration, but the reason why I don't identify with his approach personally is because it seems more like a temper tantrum than a real legitimate concerted effort to try and offer the American people more options. I understand the feeling of desperation, but if you're going to, here's the thing with me, Camellia, I am done following Don Quixotes. I am nobody's Sancho anymore. If you want to tilt at windmills that you believe are dragons, you go right ahead, and it's your right as an American. But I feel a duty to spend the time and energy that I have, the precious limited resources that I have, to spend on efforts that I think might be bearing fruit. I get that you have to fight some battles that you know you're going to lose. But why would you pick battles that you know you're going to lose? I mean, it strikes me as ridiculous. You should attack the enemy where they're weak. They're weak in primaries. That's my opinion.
Right.
How do you respond?
No, I think that's right. And I think that this is, at least it seems like those of us who are ideologues who, you know, really do have that North Star goal of what we would really like to see happen and, you know, believe strongly in that. Like those principles don't change, but the more you get into things, you have two options here. You can either choose to take the wins that you can get and take an incremental approach to things, or you can just get tired of the whole thing and quit, which is what a lot of people who have libertarian leanings do when they get into the system. Is they either stay in the Libertarian Party because it makes them feel good and like the actual, you know, we're doing something even though we're not ever winning. You know, it makes them feel good about it, about doing something at least. But those of us who are trying to enact real substantive change within the system that we have to work in, I mean, you have to kind of constantly keep resetting and trying to look at the big picture. Because I just keep thinking over and over again, because, you know, you could just say, like, what is the point? Like, why go to all this trouble? Like, why do Thomas Massey's like keep, you know, railing against the machine and like it just is, why do they even try? What good are they doing? What legislation have they passed? You know, all these kind of things. But I keep thinking, like, what would things look like if we didn't have people like him, people like us who are just like persistent over and over and over again in the face of seemingly impossible odds? Because if you don't have that constant resistance, we would be so much further down the road to socialism than we already are right now.
I agree, and that's why we bring you on every Tuesday and Thursday at 8 a.m. Central Time. That's Camellia Peterson. Ladies and gentlemen, if you enjoy her commentary, make sure that you set a calendar appointment on your digital calendar or otherwise to join us Tuesdays and Thursdays at 8 a.m. Central here on the show. You should be watching 5 days a week. But if you have to watch Camellia, she's Tuesdays and Thursdays at 8 a.m. Central. Did Jeffrey Epstein kill himself and the Epstein files didn't exist, Camellia?
No one may ever know.
Sad. It's so strange.
Yeah.
And obnoxious.
Sure. I mean, it's interesting to see. It's always interesting to see when this stuff happens. It's not the first time it's happened where they've come out and said they were going to do all these things and then they end up backpedaling and nothing ever comes of it, right? It's interesting to see, who among the pundits and the loud voices, like who turns which way. I mean, who continues to trust the plan and who's like.
That is fascinating.
Right? Like who's like.
The people who came out with the Epstein binders. Can you imagine being one of the people who came out of the White House with the Epstein binder right now and how they must feel?
Well, yeah, they feel like blocking everybody who says something about it now. No, it's just like, I mean, there's this, I think that what people hoped for and is in this new administration that you would finally have a government that you at least somewhat felt like you could trust, right? I think there was a great deal of trust, an enormously insane amount of trust that a lot of people put into Donald Trump. I do not share that kind of optimism, or trust in anyone. But there were a lot of people who had full faith and trust in Donald Trump and his administration, and those people that he put in who have been on the side of the people for years in media and other ways. And so to be kind of let down like this it really feels like, I think, like a betrayal to a lot of people. And they feel like, and it leaves them with a sense of hopelessness, because if they're thinking like, if these people, like the best among us, so to speak, the most fervent, principled, get in there and even they are going to be turned, like what hope is there for anybody, right? And so I kind
of agree. Right? It was weird seeing Dan Bongino and Kash Patel saying in very halted tones, like whenever I'm lying, I'm like, did you eat that last piece of cheese, Austin? No, I have like that wide open look on my face. No, but it's like, here, take a listen to this. This is that interview.
You said Jeffrey Epstein committed suicide. People don't believe it.
Well, I mean, listen, they have a right to their opinion, but as someone who has worked as a public defender, as a prosecutor, who's been in that prison system, who's been in the Metropolitan Detention Center, who's been in segregated housing, a suicide when you see one, and that's what that was.
He killed himself. You want me to get, I've seen the whole file. He killed himself.
And he's got that rare look at his face, Bongino. I got to be careful. I'm on Rumble. What I say.
Here's the thing, like, did any of those people, I don't care whether it's Pam Bondi or whether it was, Bongino or it was Kash Patel, have any of them said the words like, this is what I thought before, and you know what? I got in here and got new information and I was wrong.
Yeah, I wouldn't put it like that. I wouldn't say I was wrong. I wouldn't say that anybody has come out and said that they were wrong.
They're blaming it on everything else.
Yeah, they are.
Like, I think that's a big part of the problem. I think that
I wasn't wrong. The facts were wrong then, and now the facts are something else.
Right. Like, so I do think that they would still maintain some credibility with those people who trusted them if they went in and said, like, I, like you, thought this for all of these years and I was just sure of it. And I got into here and I saw everything and like I was mistaken. I was wrong. But I think that there's no way that there's going to do that. And so therefore that lumps them into the deep state. Like, and you can't trust them anymore.
Yeah, Camellia, I'm not the big conspiracy guy. You know me. I'm always arguing with like 9/11 truthers on stuff. And, saying, if you look at the COVID vaccine versus the rates of the myocarditis and compare it to the vaccine. I am a conspiracy theorist on the Epstein stuff. And I also am a conspiracy theorist on the alpha-gal red meat tick syndrome. I believe that shit was created in a Chinese lab. I think that it was a gain of function thing, like Rand Paul warned us about. And I think that the Chinese communists unleashed it in the Ozarks to attack the heart of their enemy, red meat eating Americans. You know what I'm saying? Because that doesn't seem natural.
It's certainly a suspect. I know. Yes.
Think work-life balance is overrated? You're higher. Employers are getting brutally honest with applicants, warning them of long hours and few boundaries. Companies are in control again. When I saw this yesterday, Camellia, I felt so horrible. As I worked for myself, the longer you work for yourself and that you don't work for somebody else, the more it's like being an escaped slave. You know, you're off the plantation, right? You never want to go back to master, but I see the people out there in the field, swing low, sweet chariot. The employers are clawing their employees back to office, and they're getting brutally honest, saying, you will work long hours and we will text you at work and on the 4th of July. It's getting bad out there for the jobbers.
And the difference, I think, between you and, the people that we're talking about is you certainly work many hours above 40 hours a week, right?
But I'm the boss. I whip myself on I self-flagellate.
There is a certain degree of autonomy there, though, I think, and that's the difference, right? Is that you are doing what you love to do and what you choose to do.
Yes.
And so, to a certain extent, I think that that's good that employers are being very realistic up front and saying, look, this is manage your expectations, right? This is the job. It's really interesting to me, though, because when you juxtapose this against what I hear like nearly every day, which is employers cannot find good quality employees. And maybe this is a difference between blue collar, white collar workers. I don't know. Maybe there are differences within the sectors of the job market, but yeah, it is that expectation is interesting. And I have mixed views on work-life balance. I think that you hear a lot kind of in the podcast realm right these days about doing the work you love, and there's no such thing as work-life balance if you are doing things that feed what drives you, right? But not everybody can do that, right? So I do think that there is there is a great deal of importance for employers too. We don't want to swing all the way back, on the opposite side of this focus on mental health, because I do think that employers should be concerned about the mental health of their workers, because you are going to get a better work product out of people when they are in a healthy state. I mean, there's a balance to it, and the problem is when we lose that balance. So that's interesting. But when we talk about, and also putting this in the context of the June jobs report, because this is what you saw our government
nice segue.
Crowing all about, right? I mean, because is the job market, because people think, okay, how can employers do this when, when we have so many jobs and people this is, you wouldn't think that this would be in the environment that they could do that in, because there are so many jobs. Therefore, employees can be a little more choosy. So, the government has been crowing about the June jobs report, where they added 147,000 jobs. And the buried lead in this is that half of those jobs are government jobs. I'm like, what the heck? This does not sound like shrinking government to me. Like
gobbledygook.
What happened to all of the government jobs we cut, right? So, I mean, I think that probably is part of the reason why, the job market in actual private sector is not that great, which is why employers can do things like this. And it's also, I think, part of the problem too is when you talk about in retail and in these entry-level jobs, it is so difficult. Forget minimum wage. It is so difficult to find good quality employees with a good work ethic and who show up and do their job and do it well and provide good customer service and a quality work product for even, $20, $22 an hour in Missouri. So it just is, there are a lot of things at play here, but yeah, I think there's a reason why employers are starting to be able to be a little more selective and set those expectations, because things are not as rosy as we have been led to believe they are.
Camellia Peterson, ladies and gentlemen.
That's my rant.
It was a great rant. I was telling you about how before we came down to Silver Dollar City, I took Stephanie for her first trip to Buc-ee's. She loved it. Great store. And they post their job postings out in public with the salaries. You can make a lot of money if you work at Buc-ee's, but there's something of a catch.
I mean,
you're gonna work your ass off. You're gonna work your you're gonna work your tail off. Sorry, damn, I should have gone for the joke, the chipmunk joke.
Like anybody who's been to a Buc-ee's knows that they have to have high standards for their employees, because when you look at how clean their stores always are, including the bathrooms, right? I mean, when you look at like the quality of the service they provide, like there's a reason why people love stopping at Buc-ee's, and it's not just because they have a bajillion gas pumps that like are never, like, I don't think I've ever even seen, well, maybe in Texas one time I might have seen half of the Buc-ee's gas pumps filled, but like there's like, they're never even close to being filled. And that's, that's not the point of a Buc-ee's, right? So there are good reasons, and they have, I think, those high expectations. And I'm sure that they tell people coming in, like, this is the deal. Know what to expect.
Yeah. Expect that if you're going to get paid well, that you're going to have to work your butt off. I mean, the COVID-19 kind of made us a little spoiled with everybody kind of working from home and enjoying it. And we had to claw back the employees on the state level here in Missouri, didn't we?
Oh, for sure. Yeah. I mean, the idea of, I think there are some things where it made sense to allow people to work from home, but there are a lot of things where it's much harder for quality to control, and for, just communication among your staff to not have people in the office. So there are a lot of state governments that kind of followed suit with the federal government in saying, okay, everybody has to come back to the office now, because on top of this, like, we've got buildings that are sitting empty and costing the taxpayers money. And so and we all know Elon Musk is famous for insisting on working in the office, and kind of like that article was talking about with employers saying you can expect to work all of these hours, and they're kind of like, the manager or the CEO or whatever is kind of like mocking people for not sleeping in their offices, like, which we all know that's what they do at X, right? Is they sleep in their offices. We've seen for the XAI the pictures of the rows of tents and sleeping cots for the engineers.
Camellia, the whole question though of work-life balance that you brought up earlier, it was easier for employees to push back a little bit on their employers and start to say, well, when I'm off the clock, my phone is off and I'm not able to be reached. Right. I mean, I think that that's a reasonable expectation in a modern society, because it didn't used to be possible for them to reach into your home at midnight on a Friday. And some employers' requests, I think, might be unreasonable. Wouldn't you agree?
Yes, and I do think when we talk about the cultural aspect of this and the role that the family plays in the health of the culture, if your employer is able to reach you 24/7, your focus is never really able to be fully on your family, as far as there's always that potential distraction on the side there. And so, if employers are demanding so much of so much time of their employees, like, what does that do to the dynamic when we talk about people being able to date, people being able to get married, have kids? Those things all take time. And if your time is all spent at work, then where do you do that? That's where we end up, when we talk about the plummeting birth rate, well, that's a factor. And so we only have so many hours in the day. And if you're spending it all working in the mines, why you're not spending it creating the conditions to, for you to be able to have a family and a partner in life. And that's, I think societally, this is one of the things that they talk about that happened with feminism. And, there are people who talk about how that employers intentionally did this with women as a way to kind of degrade that family structure. I don't know how much I believe that, but, I do think that that is a factor and an element in what we see, that the family looks like now, the declining birth rate, all of those things that are affected, how our kids grow up, when we have, as a result of this, and you get to an economy, like, how did we get from the economy where we had, the two parents, one, household income, and that one household income wasn't working 80 hours a week. But now we've got both parents and that they're both working, 60 plus hours a week. What's going on with the kids? Who's raising the kids? Like we farmed out raising kids to the institutions that our government provides for us. And therein lies our problem, because the government is always the problem.
Yes. Amen, Camellia. Camellia, I meant to play this clip for you earlier. This is again, I'll make this the last question that we have for you before we let you go. This was Ron DeSantis' his reaction to Elon Musk forming the America Party.
What he's done. The problem is when you do another party, especially if you're running on some of the issues that he talks about, that would end up, if he funds Senate candidates and House candidates in competitive races, that would likely end up meaning the Democrats would win all the competitive Senate and House races. And so, look, I'm a Republican. I don't want to see that happen. I think if you want to, get involved and hold accountable, we do have a problem in the Republican Party with these D.C. congressmen. They always run saying there's out of control spending and they're going to spend less, and they never do it. And so there's a gap between the campaign rhetoric and then the performance. Elon was doing Doge, and a lot of Congress didn't want anything to do with actually adopting the Doge cuts, just like they haven't wanted to adopt the Trump executive orders on immigration and all these other things, which I think you have to adopt in law if you want them to have staying power. So I think there is a lot of frustration with the gap between the rhetoric in their district and the performance once they get into D.C. But the way you do that is expose that in a primary and show that there's another way forward. Honestly, if you're concerned about the debt, I wouldn't even worry about that, because I don't think just electing a few better people is going to change the trajectory. We need the incentives in Washington are going to lead to these outcomes, really, regardless of the outcome of elections at this point. So you need to do a balanced budget amendment to the U.S. Constitution. And you
Be still my heart. Your reaction to that, Camellia?
No, I mean, he's right. Remember at the beginning of all the Doge things when all of the Congress people were, getting their time and their pictures and whatever with Doge and Elon. And for so many, it was just about the popularity and riding the wave of, having someone so famous involved in whatever. When it came down to the hard work and the nuts and bolts of doing, enacting those changes, where were they? Like, they're not Elon fans anymore. Now they're coming out and they're like criticizing Elon. Okay. So it was never really about the policy itself. And so I think DeSantis is right. I think the approach does need to be really targeted. Like, Elon's a really smart man, but he's not been in the political world, so to speak, and probably doesn't understand some of the political realities that you really only understand by spending time in it. It's very hard to have the perspective just looking outside in. And getting candidate ID is the hardest part. Like, finding the right people to run, so difficult because we are so limited by the nature of our system. And it's very hard to find the Thomas Masseys and the Rand Pauls, in the country, because those are usually people who are sane and they are, living their life and trying to support their family. And they don't, let's just say they probably don't have the outsized egos that are often seen necessary to run for an office like that. But then, because it's so hard to find somebody who has that ego, but can also, because I think you have to have a certain amount of ego to be able to do that to begin with, but also can, has those principles that they can hang on to. And part of it is that you have to spend so much time raising money. And if you were able to ID those people, and Elon wants to put his money behind those people so that they're not having to worry about this whole being bought and paid for by every other, special interest group that comes along, then I think that helps, right? In actually addressing the root of the problem. But I also think too that, a much more laser focused strategy, he could invest in the states themselves, because so many of these people come from state level offices.
Camellia Peterson, you are the best. That's why we have you as our regular guest. And you have been faithfully since the very beginning of this show. And it's we were talking about this beforehand. It's just amazing how much the show has grown since the very beginning. Remember when I was in that bar in the back and it was really like dirty and dusty?
You're in the speakeasy.
In the speakeasy. I remember and like people would come on the set and they would throw up all over the set. And I'd have to, and they'd like break my cameras and lights and stuff. And I'd come in the morning, everything would be
Wait for
smashed.
half the show.
Yeah, there'd be like some drunk politician who'd be on the couch and stuff like that. Those were the funny old days. I wouldn't say the good old days, but I do, of course, appreciate Scott Vaughn very much for helping us launch us.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yes.
Camellia, anything else you want to share with our audience before we let you go today?
No, just have a great day, everyone. And if you want to trust the plan, that's up to you. we are not trusting the plan.
We only trust the plan.
Trusting the plan. Verify.
Make
verify.
America great again. Must trust the plan. Must trust the plan. Bye, Camellia. Have a good one.
Have a great day, everyone.
Like I was doing this joke last year about Kamala Harris before the election. Did you see those videos where she ostensibly was a little tipsy when she was giving speeches?
How could you tell? I mean, that was the problem.
Because I was like, mommy.
That was the problem with that. One of the problems.
But I was doing a joke about it going like, maybe this is what we need. What is scarier than an alcoholic woman with no children? Truly nothing. I mean, this is the level of fearlessness we would like. Imagine she's like drunk dials Putin at 2 a.m. like, hey, homo. Like this could be good. And everyone would get it. And then I went to New York and it went like okay. It was kind of, and someone was like, I've never seen that video. I'm like, my whole feed is Kamala Harris drunk giving speeches, and there's other people that didn't even get it. So it's like we all have these
that's the problem.
We have these bespoke algorithms. I almost feel like when we start talking to each other, we have to do like an algo check. Like I was doing.
That's actually an interesting point there. Yeah. All right, folks, listen up. We all love jetting off to Paris, croissant, cobblestones, the Louvre, but apparently some tourists went for the rare French special, losing their wallets to pickpockets. But the thing is that the Americans didn't lose their wallets. They fought back. And boy, did it get interesting. I've got an incredible story for you here in just a minute. But before we go there, I have to share with you, my friends, over at HispanioLaCigarsDistributor.com. This 4th of July, we all had some lovely cigars. I hope that you did as well. But there is a Freedom to Smoke sale going on with our friends over at HispanioLaCigarsDistributor.com, where you can get 55% off handcrafted premium cigars like the bold Raw Christophe and the smooth, luxurious Ogu. Celebrate freedom, flavor, and great company with these truly incredible tobacco blends. Hurry, the deal ends at midnight on July 21st. Visit HispanioLaCigarsDistributor.com. That's HispanioLaCigarsDistributor.com. Light up your summer with J.R. Tancred cigars and smoke with purpose and responsibly if you got them. Thank you very much. We appreciate Rumble for that. Back to the news. According to a Medium post titled, Americans in Paris Ready to Rumble with Pickpocketers, travelers at the Olympics and hotspots like Le Tour Eiffel, the Eiffel Tower, weren't just alert, they were ready to rumble. Yeah, I love this story. Instead of just handing over their stuff, they went hands-on, grabbing perpetrators and alerting police to restore order. Forget being polite. These Americans weren't waiting for menus. If your hand got near their pocket, you got an American welcome missile right back to the sidewalk. Bam, boom, 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 boom. We Americans, we dream of this. We live for these days. A pickpocketer. They put their hand in my pocket. Look at this. It's got a little freedom spear on the end of it. It's so lovely. All right, well, not in France. Well, maybe in France, but they wouldn't have used an SKS. It would have been something more along the lines of like, an M1 Garand with a bayonet, which I have as well. We'll touch the guns. Americans in the Olympics getting pickpocketed say, hell no. They beat the hell out of the pickpockets. Paris is one of Europe's top pickpocket hotspots. 251 incidents per million visitors, with the Eiffel Tower leading the chart. But here comes the kicker. The locals shrug it off, but Americans, we have a totally different rule book, and it's written in Old Glory and personal boundaries. We have a whole personal space thing that Europeans don't have. And we have this thing where Americans' personal bubbles are a little bit larger than a lot of places in the world. So if somebody who's strange comes into our personal space and we don't know them, that right there and enough is like, it's setting off yellow flags and red flags. Like we know what it's like to live in dangerous areas. But we don't have a culture in the United States where you can't defend yourself like they do overseas, right? This isn't about money. This story is about American pride. We don't beg. We don't ask. We reclaim. Apparently, there were scenes of police having to actually contain Americans because, frankly, the Americans were delivering justice. And the locals were a bit surprised. They were upset about the Americans causing a ruckus because the locals just, if the pickpocketers grab their money, they're like, oh, I have a baguette and another cigarette. And no. Wait for the cream, the government says. Our tourists come armed with elbow grease and decency. And believe it or not, that's shocking in some circles. No offense, but
it sounds like some fucking commie gobbledygook.
So imagine the conversations. Zut alors, someone took my wallet. Or tourist B, hold their hand. Excuse me, mon ami, hand it back. Tourist A could have just said, pardon me, but this is how we do things in Texas and Florida and everywhere with common sense. If they catch you slipping your hand into a stranger's pocket, don't be surprised when they catch it and your wrist and your face and it's I'm from America, baby. I'm not Canadian, bitch. You're gonna where's my American sunglasses? Yeah. I need this. I need to film this scene in my truck. This isn't about geography. It's about American resolve. We don't just complain. We do something. Can you imagine trying to pickpocket a man wearing sunglasses, wearing these bad boys? We don't just complain. We do something. Our travelers represented the spirit of self-defiance, even on foreign soil. We know the golden rule. Here's the bonus golden rule. Don't mess with America's stuff, especially near St. Louis, Missouri. We don't go to Paris to be pickpocketed. We want to meet the pickpockets and meet them head on. It's the American way. Never back down. Never apologize. That's right. Next time you fly across the ocean, remember you don't get souvenirs of stolen wallets. You leave with your dignity and maybe theirs if they tried. Because in America, the first rule is hands off our freedoms, pockets included. God bless America. That one earned me some follows over there on rumble.com. Good morning, guys. It's nice to see you. If you're just joining the Wake Up America show for the first time, and I imagine hundreds of you are, you might be wondering, who the hell is Austin Peterson? Who is this guy? I'm the host of the Wake Up America show. Glad and thankful to have you here. And I hope that you'll become a regular guest. Before you leave today, do what the terrible Great Reset did over on Rumble and click the follow button as well. So you'll get a notification when the show goes live. It's 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, 7 to 9 a.m. Central Time. It's a live news talk show, and we'd love to have you be a regular guest on the show 5 days a week, hanging out with us in Rumble. All right, next topic. We were talking to Camellia a few minutes ago a little bit about the job market. Now let's talk about AI. AI is not coming for your job unless your job is sitting around waiting for someone to tell you what to do. Here's the message from a recent Wall Street Journal op-ed titled, AI is a boon to high agency people. And folks, they're absolutely right. Here's what the article says. The author argues that AI doesn't replace people, it amplifies productive ones. right? High agency individuals, those who take initiative, those who solve problems, those who create, are now doing 10 times the work thanks to AI. And baby, you got a stew going. I am cooking with gas. Low agency individuals, people who are sitting back, waiting for someone to ask ChatGPT how to do their job for them. Those are the people who are going to lose their jobs. In media, creators using AI are publishing 4 to 5 times more content with better targeting and reach. We're doing this now here with the Wake Up America show and the For Liberty Network. I got a message from Facebook this morning. I couldn't believe it. They said they were actually increasing my reach thanks to the amount and quality of content that we are putting out these days over at the For Liberty Network. And this can be you. This could be you. In business, solopreneurs, or what they call them, solo entrepreneurs, are outsourcing 70% of operations to AI tools, email, video editing, marketing, even legal review, which has gotten some people in trouble in the courtroom because they submitted a ChatGPT brief and it contained the prompt that they used to write the brief. And it asked at the very bottom, would you like me to do some more stuff for you? The robot, it's all in the brief. It's hilarious. In technology, though, startups with 2 engineers and a suite of AI co-pilots are building tools that used to require 20 people a day. 20 in order to do that same job. This is the greatest force multiplier since the invention of the printing press. And bureaucrats, of course, are just treating it like a paperweight. I am gobsmacked when I run into an otherwise intelligent person, an otherwise productive person who isn't using these tools yet. It is an unbelievable power that is in your pocket now. You don't have to Google anymore. I rarely Google things anymore. I almost never use Google, and Google knows this, and the search traffic has been plummeting because if I need a recipe, I don't need to hear a story about mom and her, how she touched you when you were a kid before you'd give me the recipe for the croissant. Just tell me how to make the croissant. Long blogs. Used to have to read long blogs with people and with pages and pages of ads before you could actually get to the content. Now, the other day when I was smoking my brisket for my family a couple of weeks ago, I'm still like an amateur smoker, still kind of learning the ins and outs of smoking the brisket. And I'm like, okay, well, the brisket is only at this heat. It's supposed to be at this temperature now. Is it too late? Can I save it? How can I fix it? They're like, all right, no problem. Here's what you do. Bring it up to this heat for this amount of time, do all that stuff. And then, do this at that point. And I'm like, oh my God. And it saved the brisket. And it was the most delicious beef brisket I've ever made in my life. Thanks to AI. But I'm halfway through cooking. The other night, I'm like, hey, what do you want? Do you want sesame chicken, Stephanie? I'm like, oh, let's make a sesame chicken. She's like, how do I make a sesame chicken? Should I just use this sauce? And I'm just like, no, make this sauce from scratch. It's no problem, right, Steffi? She's like, I'm like, just use ChatGPT. So she gets on ChatGPT. Oh, it's not hard. You just take a little honey, a little soy sauce, a little garlic. You toss it in a pan. You fry up the chicken. You toss it in the pan, a little bit of broccoli, a little fresh veg, and you got yourself a stew going, baby. Is anybody getting the Arrested Development? Or should I cut those out? Artificial intelligence. It's not just about productivity, guys. It's about freedom. Freedom to build faster, freedom to opt out of legacy tech, freedom to outpace regulation, education monopolies, legacy corporate hierarchies. AI levels the playing field, but only for the people who are willing to step out onto the pitch. It's not the robots that are dangerous. It's the people who refuse to compete with them, right? The Luddites. No, AI is not going to enslave humanity. That's science fiction for tech-phobic Luddites and legacy journalists who haven't innovated since dial-up modems. AI is as moral as the person using it, just like a gun. If you're ethical, your AI will help you do more good, not more damage. If you're lazy, however, AI just becomes a mirror that exposes your lack of discipline. Actually, I think I told Camellia this the other day. Who was I telling? When I was saying about accomplishing certain goals that I had in my life. Oh, I was talking to my best friend from college, Luke. We were hanging out, and we were talking about AI. And I was saying the other day, he's like, how are you, doing all this stuff, Austin, all these things that you've got going on? And I just explained to him about AI and how I've, maximized my productivity with these tools. And he's just like, this is incredible. And he goes, well, and I just said to him, I go, because here's the thing. I go, I'm not a genius. I don't know everything. And I have some talents and I have some skills. But there are just some things that I don't know. A lot of things that are important that I don't know how to do. There are some things that I'm really not good at. And I know what those things are that I'm not good at. So what do? Well, I have artificial intelligence do those things for me. I have them do those jobs. Or there's jobs I really hate or I'm really bad that I put off until later, right? And then what I realized, once AI came about and I realized what the power of AI was, at that point, it's now no more excuses. There are no more excuses. And that's what it was. I realized my back was to the wall. Oh, there are all these hopes and dreams and plans that I have for my life that I want to accomplish. And now I can accomplish them because the things that used to be barriers that were standing in my way are no longer standing in my way because I can have the robots do them for me. Well, then what's my excuse? Why haven't I done these things? There is no excuse. The era of high agency liberty is here. If you are the kind of person who says, why hasn't someone done that yet? Maybe it's time to realize it's you. You are that someone. It's time for us to do it. The man who calls himself the godfather of AI has brought us to this brink of extinction, now feels the need to whistleblow and warn us. Aren't we lucky you came to our senses in the 11th hour? Thank you, Terrible Great Reset. It's been great seeing you in the chat, by the way, this morning. Thankful to have you here. An excellent observation. Brad Beckman says, AI created my entire DJ setup. It picked out every piece of equipment, gave me a setup diagram, even recommended what programs to use. I bought new programs last night and troubleshooted immediately. It's amazing, Brad. It's amazing. Brad over there making his dreams come true and helping to make mine come true. Because you know what? There is one thing. When we talked earlier about the programs, about they're only as good or as bad as people using them, that's why, Brad has become a superhero. I was just smiling ear to ear yesterday because of everything that Brad has learned in the last 6 to 8 months here working for me at the For Liberty Network. He's become a superhero. I was so proud of him. I was watching his work. And then I was seeing some of the commercials that he's been making for our products at forlibertyshop.com that were coming out over the 4th of July. And I was so proud of him. I was just smiling so much because I was just like, this is so good, Brad. You're doing good. Because, everybody in the beginning, they kind of have a bumpy start, right? And then once you get your feet underneath you, and Brad even admitted he had to kind of like change some mindsets and stuff about working for me because I'm like, go, let's go. We got to get this shit done. I'm not like that really, but like, metaphorically speaking, like it's got to get done and it's got to get done right. That's all it is, right? You're the boss. Got to be the boss. All right. But AI can't replace Brad, right? It's about the inputs, about the person who does it. Now Brad is becoming like a superhero of tech himself. Everybody say thank you to Brad Beckman. He's been a key and integral part to the rise of that. It just goes to show what one good employee can do for your business. Imagine having a good employee and 20 robots working for you. As if we didn't have enough parasites in Washington. Now we got to worry about the ones in our backyards. That's right. According to a Wall Street Journal health report, tick season 2025 is shaping up to be the worst in a decade. I hate ticks. Hate them so much. Speaking of CRISPR technology, I saw somebody saying that in the chat. We should use CRISPR technology to get rid of mosquitoes and maybe ticks. I know the possums eat them, but they can eat, some other insect. But apparently rising temperatures and the mild winter have led to an explosion of tick populations, particularly here in Missouri, Virginia, North Carolina, Tennessee, and Pennsylvania this year. The amount of Lyme disease cases are on the rise. So are cases of alpha-gal syndrome. That's the tick-borne illness that makes people allergic to red meat. I am terrified of that one. If that's not a leftist conspiracy, I don't know what it is. First, they want you off beef. Now the ticks do too. It was created by a Chinese lab. It was a communist Chinese lab. Anthony Fauci and Bill Gates. Gain-of-function research. It's a crime against humanity. Deer ticks, Lone Star ticks, blackleg ticks. are spreading faster thanks to expanding deer populations and human development in wooded zones. Some ticks now carry co-infections. Do you know what a co-infection is? I bet Amy J.E.'s does. It means that one bite can deliver multiple diseases. Can you imagine getting a tick bite and getting Lyme disease and alpha-gal syndrome at the same time?
Oh, God! No, God, please, no! No!
And now we're seeing tick-borne encephalitis cases on the rise in rural areas. So tick-borne encephalitis, brain swelling from a bug bite, brain swelling. So you get a tick bite and your brain swells in its case. It's just the most disgusting, terrifying situation I could ever imagine. Amy J.E. says it may be a rare autoimmune response to a virus. I'm not sure if that's about the ticks or the alpha-gal. Despite annual funding increases, the CDC has issued no new guidelines, no major public awareness campaign, and no prep for local hospitals. Private researchers are warning that we are underprepared for vector-borne illness surges. Spent billions on COVID. But if you get taken out by a bug on a camping trip this summer, well, you're on your own. Sorry, guys. So when you see that bug spray, the DEET or permethrin, not the cute herbal stuff, but the real deal on the shelf, and you're saying to yourself, God, that is an expensive bottle of tick spray there. Get the bottle, because you know what? $10 for a bottle of DEET versus tens of thousands of dollars spent on treatment for Lyme disease or the doctor's visits for alpha-gal syndrome. And you know, they say an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. Buy the DEET. Buy the DEET. Use the DEET. Like, you know, this is not financial advice. This is health advice. Get yourself some freaking DEET. When you go on a little trip or you go on a walk in the woods or something, or you come in contact with some tall grass, full body tick check. Pets, kids, yourself, especially after mowing or hiking. And, you know, the best thing to do is just after you're done, you know, run around outside. It's hot outside anyway. You're feeling sweaty. You know, just take a shower, right? Go, you know, if you can get a shower within 2 hours of outdoor exposure, then you might be okay. You know, just check yourself for ticks, see if you're good, because most ticks actually need 12 to 24 hours to transmit the disease. So a lot of times you wake up in the morning the next day and you see you've got a tick on you, and guess what? It's too late. It's been 12 hours or something like that. You guys have got to check yourself for ticks. So also, tick-proof socks and sleeves are actually, yes, that is actually a thing. There are such a thing as tick-proof socks and tick-proof sleeves. They are a thing. And that's, if you don't take it seriously, the bugs might win where the politicians fail. There you go. So there you have it. Wake Up America show is 5 days a week here. If you're watching us this morning today for the first time because Rumble put us on the front page, I'd love to have you be a regular guest. And if you enjoyed the content this morning, make sure that you click that follow button before you leave today. We want to have you be a regular guest Mondays through Fridays, 7 to 9 a.m. Central Time. It's the Wake Up America show. I'm the host, Austin Peterson, and it's a great way to start your day. The community is really healthy. If you haven't introduced yourself to people in the chat yet, please do so, and make sure that you come back and join us again 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, 7 to 9 a.m. Central Time. That is the show's live stream schedule. You get to get all of the news, get informed, and laugh to things like this.
Maybe this is
Fuck
what
the
we
University
need.
of Chicago. It's evil.
What is scarier than an alcoholic woman with no children? Truly.
Oh, sorry for the harsh language, by the way.
Fuck the University of Chicago. It's evil. Like, you know, it's a colonial landlord. Like, why would I put any of my political energy into this space? And I kind of had a little bit of disdain for like people who spent a lot of time doing that. And the genocide really collapsed that and made me realize that two things. One is that, well, my students needed me. So it was like, oh, I have to organize here to take care of my students who I do care about.
Sure you do.
But I also realized, and I think this is a painful lesson that a lot of us in the Palestine Solidarity Movement have been learning, is that We don't have power. We can shift the moral authority all we want. We've won the moral question. Like that was the imperative that we've had. Done, check. Like put Palestine in the national consciousness. We did it. Make people sympathetic to Palestine, teach the history, we did it. Like now you have white boys on the north side of Chicago being like, hey man, free Palestine. I'm like, okay.
No, you don't. So let's zoom out for a second. Today we talked about Epstein's vanishing list. We talked about the ghosts haunting D.C., not Epstein's, but the ghost of truth buried under classified folders and broken surveillance cameras. We talked about socialist grifters pretending to be oppressed, and we talked about American tourists in Paris showing more backbone than half of Capitol Hill. Whether it's Epstein's elite protection racket, or Zora Mandani's radical campaign funded by family millions, or bureaucrats insisting there is no list, there is no conspiracy, there is no inflation, it's the same pattern. Power protects itself, and truth is the biggest threat. They don't fear torches and pitchforks. They fear laughter, liberty, and ordinary Americans who demand the truth and just say no. A reminder of who we are. Americans fight back. Sometimes it's on a battlefield. Sometimes it's in a courtroom. Sometimes it's in the middle of the Eiffel Tower Plaza when some skinny-fingered socialist gypsy tries to grab your iPhone. That's right. The woman in Paris who stopped a pickpocket with her belt buckle, she didn't have a law degree. She had common sense and some good Midwestern forearm strength. That's American justice. What advantage do the American people have over the rest of the world? We innovate faster. We laugh harder. We don't stay silent just because the media says that story's old. Move on. And certainly we don't apologize for calling out liars, grifters, or ghost huggers. We go to forlibertyshop.com or thegriftshop.com. They want apathy. We bring fire. They want forgetfulness. We bring receipts. They want dependency. We bring pickpocket level vigilance, even abroad. The America that the left hates is the one that fights back. And that's exactly why we have to show up every day, from Rumble streams to the streets of Paris. Be the American that the Japanese think that you are. Your gut was right. There was a list. There is corruption. And there are still Americans willing to take a stand, even if it's over a stolen wallet or a stolen narrative. Trust your instincts. Laugh at the absurdity. Push back twice as hard. For heaven's sakes, check your pockets and check your government with equal suspicion. This is it. You've been listening to the Wake Up America show, where the ghosts don't scare us, the grifters don't fool us, and the parasites can take a hike. We'll see you tomorrow. Until then, stand tall, speak truth, and for liberty's sake, stay loud. Appreciate you guys. Thanks so much for tuning in. Exit through the Grift Shop. How do you exit through the Grift Shop? You just go to your browser right now and you type in thegriftshop.com. That's thegriftshop.com. G-R-I-F-T, the Grift Shop, thegriftshop.com. See you over there in the Grift Shop, guys. I'm going to head over there now. I'm going to watch the analytics to see how many of you really go to thegriftshop.com. We'll see you guys right back again here tomorrow for Judge Napolitano. It's the Wake Up America show on the 4 Liberty Network. Have a great day. Summer isn't about. The PA chase is back, Patriots, and we're hitting the ground running in 2025. We're going to be knocking on 500,000 doors across Pennsylvania to build an unbreakable red wall for liberty, so Democrats can never win another major election in our lifetime. The deep state and woke Democrats want to steal our future. We say no on our watch. Join us, pound the pavement, and secure future victories. Sign up at thepachase.com and let's make Pennsylvania the heart of the MAGA movement. The fight for freedom throughout the country depends on PA. Learn more at pachase.com to get involved. Follow them over on X and Instagram at thepachase.com.
Patriots, listen up. The sun's out, the shades are on, and the Gulf of America is wide open for business. This summer, don't show up to the beach looking like a landlocked liberal. Gear up with the Gulf of America collection. Towels, tumblers, shirts, hats, fanny packs, because nothing says freedom like cannonballing into liberty with style. Whether you're grilling burgers, catching waves, or just flexing on social media, do it draped in stars, stripes, and pure American greatness. The Gulf of America isn't just a place, it's a lifestyle. Hit forlibertyshop.com and roll into summer like the Founding Fathers just handed you the keys to the coast. Beaches, BBQs, and bald eagles approved. You should too. Head over to forlibertyshop.com and get your Gulf of America gear. Summer is coming fast. That's forlibertyshop.com. Imagine bringing George Washington back to life. Just to explain that in 2025, men can get pregnant, waving an American flag might offend someone, and our government is $34 trillion in debt. But that's not all, George. We have drag queen story hour for toddlers. Pronouns are mandatory. And Harvard can't define woman. Oh. And we send billions to Ukraine but can't fix potholes in Ohio. You know, just normal modern empire stuff. I'm sure he'd be totally cool with it. Right after he finishes reloading. He didn't cross the Delaware for this nonsense, but you can carry on the fight with gear that would have made King George cry. Shop bold, shop free, shop forlibertyshop.com. Picture
Hey friends, one last thing before we let you go today. When Rumble started in 2013, they built this platform for a small creator. They didn't censor or have bias. No one thought platforms would censor political conversation or opinions on COVID, but they did. Facebook admitted they fell to pressure from the Biden-Harris administration. Rumble did not. They held the line. They're attacked daily for giving me a voice to speak for you. They're attacked in corporate media. They're attacked by governments. And corporate America is fighting to remove speech while Rumble is fighting to keep it. Rumble won't survive with brand advertisers because they don't get much of it. If you watch our show on Rumble, if that's the most that they can ask of you, great. But if you really believe in the fight and you have the means, another major way is to become a member of Rumble Premium. Join the community that believes in the First Amendment by going to rumble.com/premium. If you use the promo code STUDIO, you get $10 off with the promo code STUDIO. I'm a monthly subscriber. And that's the only way that you can watch our premium members-only content on Friday nights. Typically, we do Freedom Arcade, which is our video game arcade stream with me and Stephanie. So join the Rumble Premium group at rumble.com/premium. Use that promo code STUDIO for $10 off, and then you can watch the Freedom Arcade episodes. All of our premium content will be unlocked. Thank you, to Rumble, and for everyone for supporting free speech.
Legend has it, back in 1773, a band of angry, overtaxed patriots stormed a British ship, found the king's favorite tea, and said, "This would taste better without the tyranny." Then they tossed it overboard. Fast forward to today. That revolutionary spirit lives on in Boston Harbor Black, the boldest brew in the For Libert tea lineup. It's dark, it's smooth, it's unapologetically American, just like the folks who drink it. Whether you're sweetening it up on the front porch or drinking it straight like a Minuteman before battle, this isn't tea for royalty, it's tea for rebels. No fake flavors, no corporate slogans, just a cold glass of Don't Tread on Me in liquid form. So skip the woke iced tea aisle and stock up on Boston Harbor Black at forlibertyshop.com. Because when the heat's rising, the least you can do is drink like a patriot.